Hello everybody, it's 2bricks here, and I am back in with another video to showcase a large-scale MOC that I have made. This is the full overview / review of the Stinger Mantis in its fully completed and glorious version 2 iteration. This is not the third part of my Think Like a Designer series on this ship. That's actually going to be a separate video where I'm going to tear this all apart and to make the instructions. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to shoot a bunch of different elements, not with a gun, shoot them with my camera to give you guys a better idea of all of the techniques and things that went into this as a model, of which there are so many. I've packed basically all of my Lego knowledge that I've been accumulating over the years of MOC making to be able to cram into this one model to make it work, because it is just such a challenge. It's probably the most difficult engineering challenge I've ever attempted in Lego, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So that's going to be for a separate video where it's just kind of like celebrating the techniques that I've applied here. But today is just going to be to show you the finished model. I'm going to give you a look inside and out. I'm going to talk about all of the changes that I've made, and basically there's not a single square inch on this that you can find that is the same exactly as what the previous model was, with the exception of some of the roof. Everything else has been basically completely redesigned, and I'm so thrilled to be able to bring it to you guys today. And also we have a stand that is a new addition here for the Mantis. This is just a temporary little minifigure display at the front for my custom figures, but I'm talking about the actual stand holding up the Mantis. That is new. That came with its own unique design challenges and things of that sort. So really excited to get in and show all of that stuff to you guys today. So let's just kind of dive in and take a look. And really quickly, I just wanted to give you guys a look at my updated minifigure selection. This has changed quite a bit since the first iteration of the Stinger Mantis. Of course, I have a custom, I have actually a video on this custom second sister that I made the helmet for, and I'm using the body of Reva, the what was she, the third sister from Obi-Wan Kenobi? Anyway, Reva. It's her body for this one because it's absolutely perfect. I have Cal donning the no poncho look today. He's got BD1 mounted on his new, just very simple mounting system back here, because Lego finally gave us something relating to Jedi Fallen Order, which is this BD1 figure. So I wanted a simple way to mount that on Cal's back. Seer is here with the opalescent colored pieces here for the to represent the Jedi holocron. I thought those were a nice kind of iridescent, shiny kind of a look that gave it kind of that mysterious holocron feel. And she's using a new face. She actually has a double-sided face now. This was from a recent figure that came in the Daily Bugle set, so I really like the range that she gets there with the kind of suspicious eyebrow and then the more happy face. That's perfect. Grease is a fully custom head on top of the previous body that I had, and I'm still waiting to get my hands on those Disney 100th anniversary collectible minifigures to get my hands on a set of red double arms. That's can't come soon enough. And then we have Marin back here with her magic green magic tiles around her hands there to show her Night Sister magic. She's pretty much unchanged from before. I think I may have switched out the head for that, but regardless, that is an Asajj Ventress head, and she is a Night Sister, so it seemed appropriate. And I also just threw in my custom Sol Guerrera here because, you know, I have one. I made one just using regular parts as Iron Man legs and the new, these awesome new chest armor pieces that came in the Buzz Lightyear series. These guys, Kane, and then the Avatar connection piece there. The Avatar, as in not The Last Airbender, but the Avatar recent 2009 series of sets that came out and gave us those cool whip connection pieces. So they're on my lineup of minifigures. Obviously, unfortunately, you won't be able to get your hands on the custom Grease or Second Sister because I just made those out of polymer clay. But you know, hey, try your hand at it. Maybe you'll be able to come up with something cool yourself. I just was so sick of not having any kind of a good solution to achieve those characters. I just felt like I had to take matters into my own hands. So there those are. All right, so on with the ship. Like I mentioned, the first thing that you will see here is that the Mantis now has a stand. It is an asymmetrical stand to go with this asymmetrical build. So it has this extra support foot that sticks out back here, and that is to allow the wings to be in any position that is permissible by the actual ship, while on the stand. Other than that, it's pretty bare bones Technic and regular system building here. We have plates, we have tiles, we have Technic beams, Technic bricks, and there's also Technic axle back here, which is plugging into a special purpose-built hole underneath the ship that was for, the specifically for the purpose of putting it on a stand, because I don't want this thing to fall over. It's very stable on here. The stand itself is very stable. There's really no major risk of it doing anything unless you encounter like a really bad earthquake or something. But it's very, very secure. So that was important to me. Obviously, the sticker here is from the Republic gunship, the recent UCS set. But I was just trying it out because I wanted to see how this would look with the UCS plaque, because to me, this model has graduated into the realm of UCS Ultimate Collector Series, and I think that it is deserving of a plaque. So I'm going to be designing a custom sticker to go on one of these plates. So if you have the desire and the means to print out your own, you can go ahead and do that. They'll be included with the instructions when they eventually come out. So you can see here the stand is just tall enough to allow the wing to swing down underneath here, and I'll show you guys all the different positions of that in a second. And then, like I said, just trying to keep everything fairly simplistic and reduce the amount of visible studs. Like here on the side, would all be visible studs, so I've tiled it off just to try to keep it from being too attention grabby away from the ship. And I think that the black color scheme, helps to differentiate it from the ship, and it gives you, it gives you that feeling of this is a stand and this is the ship. It doesn't kind of get confusing, hopefully. But yeah, I think this works pretty well. So now what I'm going to do is give you guys a demonstration from up above of the wing folding mechanism and how that all works on the stand. So I've slightly updated the design from the last time that you saw it, which would be in Think Like a Designer Stinger Mantis Edition Part 2, where I was showing off the wing mechanism. I actually completely redesigned these rings that hold the wings in place for various reasons that I'll get into later, but these are a lot thicker than they were before, and that was kind of the main impetus for designing them, is that they didn't actually fit proportionally with the rest of the body, so that the ring section had to be a lot beefier. So I was actually able to redesign the catch so that there's just one sliding mechanism back here, and then these two prongs that you see engage with the wings, and they go right the way through this ring and into the other and hold that all in place like so. So I'm able to just pull that out, and then I can freely rotate the wings. So this tall wing can go all the way down to horizontal, and there is a little catch built into the design to stop it from going too far. And then the bottom wing here folds up like so, and you can go ahead and put it in its landing configuration. So it's a little bit fiddly to get it lined up exactly right, but then once you do, it just pops in, and then you're good to go. And so that's what that extra foot down here is for, is to prevent the model from wanting to tip over due to the weight of this wing out to the side. And it does its job excellently. It really doesn't feel like it wants to go, like I wouldn't let your kids jump on this and use it as a diving board, but it will stay as it wants to be for the purposes of display. And you can also just if you want to have this in its more traditional on the ground landed configuration, you can just go ahead and put the wings up as well. No muss, no fuss, and it's still obviously fine on the stand. Yeah, there's no problem at all. So there you go. There is the new wing configuration. So this top wing is able to go horizontal or back. It's able to come this way, but I wouldn't obviously recommend it because that's not part of what the ship is able to do in universe. And same goes for the bottom wing. It can go all the way down to flat or all the way around, not fully to the other side, but kind of has an extra little bit of leeway. But then you just engage the catch at whichever position you like, and then that will just keep it in place. So yeah, it all works with the stand, and that was the intention, is you can do it, just hold the wing, pull the catch out, and you don't have to worry about things falling, because the previous way that it was with no stand, you were kind of having to hold everything, and it was a little bit awkward and a little bit difficult to do. Now it's much, much easier, and you can also just pull the catch out part way so that the bottom wing won't do anything, and then you can just move the top. That's obviously also an option for you, and yeah, I think it just works a whole lot better. The whole system together works a whole lot better than what it did before, so really pleased with that. And the last thing I wanted to show you is just how to remove it from the stand. So you just pick it up from the bottom here and from the back, and you go ahead and just tilt it forward, and then it disengages the studs. Some of these plates on here got pulled up a little bit, but that's totally fine. These tiles are just here to act as a spacing guide. They don't really do anything structurally. And you can see here the little bit of Technic axle, which holds the ship in place. So there you go, really, really easy to disengage from the stand, and the Mantis is down. All right, and with the Mantis off the stand, you can see now I want to go ahead and put it on its landing gear so it can sit nicely on the table. So what I have to do is grab the extra bits, which are included back here. So just kind of shake all of those out of the back. So we should have 5 elements here. So we have 2 landing skids, 2 support beams, and a clear stand. All right, close that back up. And I go ahead and tip the model over like so. And I'm trying to do this again as real time as possible to show you, so you get a sense of how it really goes when you have it in your hands. So we open up the 2 landing gear flaps under here, and we place these Technic pins in here with the pistons that hold in place. So I guess the little prop arms. So there's 1, so it goes in there like so, and then 2, like so. And it just folds in like that. And then we place these little landing feet on the tip of each one of these legs right here. And then the landing gear for the front is tucked away in this nice new purpose-built nook that is built for that. And they just simply fold forward. Absolutely no, nothing, fancy or anything about that. Just a regular old folding out. And then the Mantis goes down on the feet. So there you go. It's down. It's standing on its gear as it's supposed to. So the weight is all on these curved white sections here. These feet are just for show. They don't actually do anything for the structural stability. But they do look fairly nice and accurate. And that's that. So the clear stand is just a single rod here. And that just goes on the underside in this exposed stud that is left for that. And that is just to, if you're going to display this on a shelf and you're planning to leave it there indefinitely, that is just to prevent any strain on the parts over time. So let me just readjust my angle here. So because this catch right here, which is made of just regular Lego plates, is holding together the weight of the top wing and this wing, preventing it from drooping, over time I'm worried that this structure could either become brittle or break. I'm talking about over a period of like several years. So what I wanted to do is just minimize that by having this simple little clear stand under here that just props the wing up and prevents any kind of damage like that from occurring. And then the main kind of weight of the central wing here should be relatively centered up, since it is in the middle, and it's not trying to like sway or be held at an awkward angle to either side. So hopefully that'll be fine as is. But yeah, I just wouldn't recommend leaving this with the wing down for extended periods of time, just because again, it is only Lego and there is a potential for breakage there eventually. So that's that. Now I have so many things to show you here about the actual Mantis, the kind of exterior design before we even get into the interior. So let's take a look at all of the cool stuff going on there. All right, so I'm going to go handheld for this section because I want to just get in and show you a lot of specific areas of detail that I'm really happy with. So here I've extended the studs facing out element of both sides of the wing all the way down. So previously this section here stopped and then it went to reverse studs for the top section of the wing. So I just went ahead and extended that all the way up, and it just connects in here to this little bracket piece, which you can see poking through right there, and then just holds it all together very, very nicely and securely. And so the wing is fully kind of studless, and there's no kind of unpleasant angles to it. Obviously the only studs that are remaining are the ones from like the wedge plates that are intentional, and things like the little intentional detail of this roller skate piece and things of that sort. But other than that, it looks absolutely great. So I really am glad that I decided to go with the brick-built snot wings this time, because I think that was the biggest area of visual improvement from the first one that really would catch my eye when I would see it on the shelf. Anytime I'd see the backside of this wing, I'd be like, that just needs to be, it needs to be flat and nice looking. So now it is, and very, very pleased with that. So Moving on to the cylinder section here. So I did, like I said, redesign this entire section. The way that I was able to get these plates in here, which are now these angled 45-degree elements, are now held in here with 4 studs each and are very, very secure indeed. They're really, really hard to take off. And I developed a really interesting technique for mounting things at that angle, which I'm very excited to show you on the next video. But yeah, you can see here the kind of cutout here has some nice gray, sort of mechanical looking elements to it, which is kind of reminiscent of the actual game. So you can see some different colors of gray poking through. That is intentional. It's just supposed to evoke the kind of machinery and the little lights and little weird things that are happening inside of those portions of the ship. And I really like how that looks. So these are the new engines, which are mounted into a much more accurate housing here. Before I had these large kind of wheel pieces that sort of simulated some kind of mechanical detail, but these are really accurate to the actual look of the engines in game. In terms of, we have this vent cut out here, we have the white bleeding into the gray, we have these little pipes on the bottom side here. I'm using these ice skate pieces to simulate the little actuators for these flaps that would kind of open and close to allow, I guess, more or less engine exhaust out of these. I don't know how Star Wars technology works, but using the ice skate pieces just gives that little extra kick of detail, which I really, really like. I'm using these ball joint pieces here to represent this very specific little kind of detail. If you look on the game, there's this little weird cutout section here. Looks like a little box almost, and I just felt like that ball joint end piece was such a perfect use for that. And then here I have the grill or the vent type details, of the heat vanes, I don't know what they are, but they come down flat and then go into this angle, and the way that they are so closely meeting up here in the back really, really makes me happy. And then this is just that little door that opens up the compartment to hold all of your extra bits. It's held in there with a ratcheting joint, so it has a very pleasant, when you pop it back up, it just holds itself in there very nicely. And again, under here, I've tried to just absolutely really, really go to town on the greebly details, because this is the one section of the ship that has a lot of that. So we have pipes, we have vents, we have little caps, notches, who knows what else. But yeah, I think that all works out really, really well. And then this little gap right here is the part where the stand engages right in there, so it keeps it nice and secure. Yeah, and then you can see here the landing gear, the way that that's all working out, and I think it looks very, very faithful to what's in the game. So this next portion back here was such a challenging area to figure out, but I had to get it so specific and had to get it correct, because the way that it works is the blue on top here curves around this part of the design, around this very rounded section here, and then dives into this flat part, and then also cuts in this way, and then the white kind of does this sharper angle and then cuts underneath the bottom of the ship. And getting this swoop, this continuous line through here, using these relatively new wedge curved bricks right here to get that nice meeting of the curve, the kind of melting into the rest of the roof there, and then using this relatively new wedge plate here that comes to a very fine point to just get that seamless line all the way down through. Such a challenging bit of design to figure out, but I'm so happy with how it turned out. And then also I'm able to get the nice, clear, crisp yellow stripe detail in here, which on the previous one, this I think was a fairly ugly section of the ship in the way that I had designed it, where I had some bracket pieces that were kind of sticking up a little bit too high. This striping detail was literally just a one single plate of yellow that was kind of buried underneath. It really didn't capture the look of this at all. And here you can see you have the depth. Inside of here you have the little mechanical detail of the way that the gray has those little vents, and there's also a little red clear stud in there to represent a light that is present. And it all just works, and it looks exactly like it should. The white section wraps around the way that it should, and I'm just super thrilled with all of that. So it definitely was worthwhile doing. And then here you can see the, or maybe you can't see, but the side of the hull here is actually angled, as opposed to before where it was a flat plate built thing that kind of stepped up to give this the impression that it was sloping upwards, but now it actually does slope upwards, and it's fairly smooth and sleek and studless for the most part, and I'm very, very pleased with all of that as well. And here you can see there's a couple of little fuel caps here. Those are to refuel the Mantis. And we have the very, very slick new opening boarding ramp. So you can see there's just enough room for this to come out. And then it has a double folding extra bit here that kind of extends out and gives you a very nice full access to the ground for the characters to be able to walk up. And again, I think it's a really big step up in terms of functionality, because now we have a little bit of extra folding elements, which just makes it a little bit more exciting. And then, you know, it just is so flat from the exterior, it really doesn't look that much like a door, which is exactly what I wanted to capture for this. So really happy with that as well. And then here we have the new cockpit area, which is designed to be a little bit more accurate in terms of the shape of the front windshield. So again, it comes flat and then it really steps up, and it has this large flat section here, which was kind of omitted before. And then the way that the windows are actually mounted, they're actually mounted in sideways now. And then that has enabled me to do some cool things on the inside, which I wasn't able to do before. There's still really realistically, there's no way to cover this with a glazed surface. Here I have, you know, a window up top. I have the windows in the front. I have a window in the underside here, which I'll show you in a minute when I open up the lid. I have the top window here with this the way that this grille has been redesigned and extended to go right down in here and just meet right up with the edge of the window like it does in the game. All those windows, including these side ones, but just this one part, I just don't know how to, there's nothing that really exists that could cover over that window in any kind of realistic fashion. It would just be ugly, and it wouldn't cover the whole area anyway. So I decided to go ahead and leave that blank. But I think that overall, you know, the surface looks the surface of the ship exterior-wise looks very well covered up and very well covered as in terms of the windowed areas, and that's just one little bit of compromise that I had to make. Here up at the front, I've redesigned the cannons so that they no longer fall off. They are part of the lid now, and they're attached in very, very securely underneath, using some of those modified plates with the Technic pinholes in them. So those are really, really core and structural to the design now and are not going anywhere. That was another little annoyance of the previous design, is that these would break off pretty easily. So that's that. And then I think, yeah, I think I pretty much covered everything. The greebling details and all of that stuff up here has not changed, because I really didn't want to waste you guys money and change things for the sake of it. So I was happy with all of this. I was happy with this. The only thing that I did is to extend the lid. The actual lid now is larger to cover over a new area that was freely made available to me by redesigning all of this. I was able to redesign how it connects to the ship, and then that gave me a lot more room. So all of this, basically this space right here, was completely wasted before with internal structure that was just to hold up the previous wing design. Now that all is relegated to 2 studs of thickness here, and then the rest is open space. So I'm going to show you that in a second, and we'll get in and look at the new interior, which has dramatically improved. So yeah, let's take a look. So all I do is I go ahead and pop this lid off. It actually studs in with a couple of studs. There's 2 at the back and 2 at the front. So it's really secure, and I've actually kind of reduced a little bit of the heft of the parts back here. There's just a few parts. I wanted to do it for, well, partly for weight reasons and partly to just reduce the parts count. And also, I don't know, I just felt like it was a little bit wasteful, the amount of stuff that was in there, but you can see how now this entire section with the vent and everything comes off all in one. And yeah, that's worked out really, really well. So first thing I'm going to show you guys is the new room that was added. Like I said, because I was able to get rid of all of that pointless structural detail, I mean, it wasn't pointless before, it's pointless now because I redesigned the way that the swiveling mechanism works. So I was able to add an entire new room, and there's so much functionality in here. I'm very, very excited about it. We have Cal's meditation spot right here. So this is something that's actually present in the ship. It's something that only Cal can see. It's sort of like a little, I don't know, like a marker in the Force that says if you rest right here, you can upgrade your Force powers and do all kinds of things. So Cal will go over there and meditate, and I'll place him in there and show you guys how that looks. There you go. So Cal is getting some meditation time in there. He's chilling, feeling, vibing his connection to the Force, and then BD1 is looking on, ever faithful. I like this little redesigned panel back here. That is actually something that in the game would be on this wall right here. But due to the structural requirements of these outer walls, I just moved that panel over here, but I still like the look of it. It has a really cool feel overall. And I wanted to extend the orange color scheme through here. I felt like that was a cool part of the way that the corridors back here have these nice orange accents that kind of show you like go this way. It almost feels kind of like a hospital hallway in a way. They have like the different colored stripes to show you which way to go. But yeah, then back here, in addition, I have the lightsaber workstation. So I have a little toolbox there represented in red, and 2 lightsaber hilts which Cal can choose from, as well as just a couple of little white studs in there which are to represent this very specific detail that exists where the lightsaber bench is on the ship. It's kind of like the spinning core of the engine. Maybe it's the hyperdrive or who knows what. But I just wanted to call that out just a little bit to give you an indication that that is back there, even though this space is obviously a very compressed representation of all the things that are in this back section of the ship. So the lightsaber modification table would be somewhere back here, Cal's bunk would be somewhere here, and the meditation room would be somewhere over here. But I actually did manage to squeeze in Cal's bunk. There it is, right down there, and I'll just show you he does fit in there. He can take a nap. When he's done meditating, he can rest. Man, the life of a Jedi. Sounds so easy. So yeah, the 2 studs in there just cling onto the back of his feet. And he has a little nook in there that is cut into the wall that allows his arm place to rest. And he can even put his lightsaber in this little clip when he's not using it for another time. So yeah, I'm just so thrilled that I was able to squeeze so much functionality into this tiny, tiny space that was previously missing. And that it wasn't just something that was like, well, I have a bunch of extra space, now let's just, you know, throw some pointless detail in there. I actually tried to make every single stud count, so very, very pleased with that. Man, if Cal has a nightmare and wakes up, he's going to slice his ear off. Ugh, not good. All right, so then moving on down to the rest of the ship, I have a slightly redesigned kitchenette here, which has a more accurate representation for these little vertical striped details that are present in there. I don't know what those exactly are, but they look like they could be coffee bean holders or cereal dispensers or something. And then the new microwave here that has the control panel on it, and we still have all of the little dishes and little food containers and things that were there before, and these representation of plates, just these single white studs. The only thing that I added on the countertop here is a bowl, because I just felt like, you know, people need to be eating stuff. They don't just need condiments, they need something to eat out of. And I also did extend back the counter by 1 stud in this direction. Previously, it kind of met up with the top line of the couch here, and I felt like I just wanted to give the couch the proper frame there that it deserves, and then the counter its own space as well. And I have just included a couple of extra studs here, so this holds onto Cal's little BD1 pack when he's not using it. So I just wanted to have a little spot that is designated for kind of hanging up things by the couch area, because it just feels like a good place to do it. I've completely redesigned this flower box, so now you have the kind of the light above that is helping the plants to grow, and then it's a very, very thin, sleek design that kind of evokes what's in the game. It's a very tall, thin box that is hollow, that has the flower in it. And so I'm just really, really, really happy with all of that detail and how all of that works. And characters can still come over here. Let me grab Cal really quick. And they can still sit in the lounge area here. And it is, you know, a little bit of a tight squeeze because, you know, the characters are relatively tall compared to their legs. But, you know, it does work. They have a little area in there for 2 people to sit and have a conversation. And that works really well. So moving on to the flower box here, that is unchanged. I have left the same flowers in there that were present before. I've redesigned, obviously, the kind of little top shelf here that covers over that. Due to the fact that the walls are now angled, I had to slightly tweak the way that everything was designed around that. And then I have a new flower box here. Shout out to Scarif Surf Club for the idea of using a rounded window piece for this flower box. It's absolutely perfect, and the flower fits in there just right. So really, really happy with that. Then moving on back down here, you can see that the orange frames around the doors are now present. That was something that was really bugging me, that I wasn't able to figure out a way to get that in there before. But there's this really distinct look in the game where you have these orange door frames, or I don't know exactly what they are, but they kind of indicate like this is where the doors are, like maybe emergency exit indicators. And I really wanted to include it in this version, and I have done that here. So really pleased with that. And then moving on forward, you can see I've completely redesigned the curved couches and the hollow table to both be super duper improved in terms of shape and representation of what we actually see in the game. So I'll start with the couches. So those are just achieved using some wedge plates and some hinge plates there, and that the fact that the walls are sloping away from the floor gives it that little bit of extra room required to have all of this in here and have that be able to work. So it all just kind of came together and worked exactly as I had hoped. The couches are mirrored on either side, so you can see same one there and one there, and they have a lot of light that is being let in by these windows, so makes for a very nice place to sit. That's why I guess Marin enjoys sitting there. Let me go ahead and place her down on her seat. So just get her in there, and yep, her magic is still fired up. She's always operating at full capacity, ready to go. That's our Marin. Place her down in there. There we go. So Marin is seated in her proper position. Like I said, magic ready to go. Because she doesn't trust anybody. So then we have the new hollow table, which actually has a little control panel at the front with a little blue screen on it, which is kind of reminiscent of what we see in the game. And then a newly designed rounded surface here for the table. Sorry about my finger there. All right, and here with the hollow table removed, you can see here it has all of the nice details that you would want to see. It's got the little screen there at the front for selecting your planet, the little hint of orange that you see in the game on the round part of the table there, and it actually has a little gap underneath it, which I really wanted to get in as part of the design, because that's where the Loath Cat, when you eventually unlock it, hides out some of the time underneath the table there. So I really wanted to get that gap in there. But the main thing, of course, here is using these relatively new kind of jump display minifigure clear pieces to mount the planets, and you can change the angle of these so you can kind of have a wider array or more narrow, depending on which, the angle that you want to rotate these around to. So I like to have it like this, kind of a fairly even spread, and then you can just rotate it freely like that, because it's just on a single stud in the middle there, and then you just mount it right back here on these two jumper studs, and then it's good to go. There you go. All right, and here is the new cockpit, and you can see here I've still tried to maintain the nice colorful appearance that was there before. I have a much thinner profile on these side walls here, which enabled me to have a little bit more space width-wise on the inside, and I've also completely redesigned these front windows here to, I just wanted to kind of have a more spacious and more accurate looking window setup. So the windows are now mounted sideways to these side frames, so they kind of come in from the middle, and then this middle section is mounted to the base down here. So it's just a little bit of a different setup, but it allows me to have a little bit more space, and like I said, make it feel a little bit more airy as well. And then down here in the floor, I do have a window piece instead of the previous solution, which was clear tiles. That works a lot better. It's a lot more transparent. It really looks like a purposeful window that is designed to see out into the survey the environment below. I have here the two co-pilot seats, although Seer can only sit in this one right here due to the space requirements. So what I've done is I've mounted Cal's seat a little bit further back and a little bit lower down than Grease's, because Grease, being a short species, he has a little bit of a booster seat, and I really wanted to get that in there. His little short arms and legs need a little bit of extra help to reach the controls. And I just thought that was a fun detail, and I didn't want to omit that. But yeah, the way that this is all connected now, I have a bar that I was able to attach to connect all of the flight yoke and the control panels there for Cal to mess around with as well. And that works really well. And here you can see I've just absolutely loaded up the front section here with all of the figures. So Cal is at his station. You can see here you can kind of punch in whatever onto the controls. Grease is flying the ship. He's got his hand on the yoke there, which I really like. And then Seer is squeezed in back there. I feel very bad for her. That looks like a really uncomfortable seat, but she can sit in there. She is studded down to the ground, and you know, everybody's up here. BD1 is up here. Everyone's getting a look at what's going on at the front. And I've also recreated this slightly terrifying scene from the opening part of the game where Second Sister just jumps and holds onto the front windshield here, and they have to shake the ship to get her off. And that was really epic moment there. I really wanted to recreate that. So there's a little bar under here that I'm able to use to let her hand, sorry, that keeps in the way, to let her hand grab onto the front windshield there. So that's really fun. But yeah, so I think, you know, everything that you could hope to want to do in the cockpit here works out just fine. And it all seals up really nicely with the lid here. Put that back. And then just squeeze down all of the studs, probably not all engaged, but just to give you the look here, here's how it looks. Absolutely awesome. Couldn't be happier. And I just popped the ship back on the stand really quick because I wanted to replicate this cool scene to show you guys here, again from near the beginning of the game, where Cal first meets the Mantis crew. He has to do this epic cinematic slow motion jump to grab onto the ramp. Seer is hanging out the side of the ship and she's blasting at Second Sister to keep her at bay, to give Cal a chance to jump over, and they get him, and of course he's, you know, becomes part of the crew from then on. So absolutely awesome, cinematic, fun little Star Wars moment there, kind of a pure adrenaline Star Wars type of moment, and it's, you know, something you can recreate here. So Cal is just holding on to the ramp there with his hand, and then Seer's hand is plugged in to that stud there in the roof to give her something to hold on to, and there you go. It just works out just like that. And one last thing I didn't get to give you guys a really good look at before is the underside. I try to really keep the underside as clean as possible here. There's not a ton of different jaggedy intersecting things that are just sort of looking unpleasant. You know, this is regular plates under here, you know, reverse side of plates, but where possible I tried to give it at least an appealing pattern here. So we have some wedge plates, I have a couple of these rounded plates in here to give it a little bit of a purposeful look and not just look like a simple Lego underside. Yeah. But you know, it's, I think mainly these important structures here are studless relative to, you know, the parts that move and can be seen from other angles. So really, like this stuff under here, you're really going to very, very rarely be seeing. So I think it all works in terms of where I put my focus and my detail, and I think that it's used to good effect. So yeah, I think that worked out okay. So there you go. Of course, you can let me know down in the comments if you think it's hideous. That's totally your prerogative. Cool. So yeah, let's move on to the next part. I just want to give you guys the quick swish test. So holding it from the underside here and mainly supporting it from the underside of this front portion, you can definitely move the ship around no problem. The top wing here won't go anywhere, but it feels a little sketchy. I don't know, if you swish it too much, it feels like it's straining something through here, like this. It just doesn't feel good. I think particularly because the spheres or the cylinders want to move, and it's only being held in place by the catch, and just, I don't know, the sense that something might break if you play too hard with it, I think is what kind of puts this more in the realm of like a UCS type of a set. You know, more for display than play, but you definitely can move the ship around, no problem. You can still fly it, you can swoosh it, and you can pretend that you're coming in for a landing. And the same goes if you have the wing in the outer position. Having the extra catch definitely helps, and you know, you can just lift it up, and it's definitely going to support its own weight and everything. There's no issues with that. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much as playable as it was before. Just in this case, it feels like it wants to be more of a display model, but I think really either way is fine. So there you go. All right, so there you have it, guys. Hopefully you guys agree that the remake is worth it. Hopefully you think that the changes that I made are worthwhile. And you know, I think that nothing is ever done with Lego, of course, but I think I would now consider this to be a complete model. I think along with stuff like my redesigned Millennium Falcon and my redesigned X-Wings that I've recently done, it's about applying everything that I've learned. It's about applying the latest techniques and Lego parts that are available, and you really can just be astonished at how much in a few years things can change for the better. But as far as this model is concerned, there isn't anything really that's left that I look at and go, yeah, I could have done better on that, you know? it all, like all the compromises that I initially made for the design, feel like they've been adequately addressed. So hopefully you guys think the same, and hopefully you don't think it's a waste of your money to buy the extra pieces to do this conversion, because I'm just warning you now, there will be a lot of extra pieces. There's almost nothing about this ship that is just the same as what it was, but everything looks fairly similar from the exterior just at a glance, so it's kind of deceptive, but believe me, there will be a lot of extra pieces required. But that's for another day. When I do the instructions, you'll be able to see exactly how much that'll cost, how much extra pieces you'll need, and obviously the stand is completely new, so that's going to be a whole new thing. I used actually almost all of the same parts that I used for my Bad Batch shuttle stand. I actually took that apart to make this stand, so RIP Bad Batch shuttle, you just have to be grounded from now on. But yeah, it's it's nothing specialized, it's nothing fancy, there's just a lot of parts, and really, like, same goes for the Mantis. There's nothing that's rare or difficult to get your hands on. It's all relatively recently produced pieces, even down to like these newer parts here that have only been available for a couple of years now, that will only become cheaper over time. So I think hopefully this is going to work out to be the definitive version of the Mantis, and at least for me, I don't think I'll ever touch this model again. I'm super duper happy with it. So hopefully it doesn't get blown up immediately at the start of Fallen Order 2. That would make me very, very, very sad. I'm so excited to get my hands on that game. April 24th or 28th, can't come soon enough. So now I'm just going to get on to making the instructions for this, and then shooting the behind the scenes technique analysis for this, for the Think Like a Designer video, because like I said, there are so many things that I've just never done before that are employed in this design, and I'm very, very excited to break all of that down for you. So thank you guys so much for watching and for tuning in to this whole process, watching through the various stages as I've been starting to tackle this piece by piece, and being patient with me for the instructions, because they do take a while, and these will be fully from scratch instructions. They'll be I won't be able to reuse any of what I had before, so yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of time. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me while I am doing all of that stuff. All right, guys, I'm going to leave now, and no more waffling. Like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, I would appreciate if you left a like and a comment. Subscribe if you haven't. I have so many more things on the way. Later on this year, I will be tackling the Ghost. After 3 years, I've been saying I'm going to make the Ghost. This year, it's going to happen. I'm doing it. So look out for that when it comes out fairly soon. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and may the Force be with you.